The cold silence of the cave was broken only by the faint hum of ancient machines, long forgotten by the universe outside. Deep within this rocky sanctuary, nestled beneath layers of stone and time, a figure lay motionless inside a clear chamber, filled with a strange, glowing liquid. Captain Marcus Kane had been asleep for over 200 years, frozen in a suspended state designed to protect him from a galaxy that had once wanted him dead. Outside, the world had changed in ways he could not imagine. Yet here, time had stood still, waiting for the moment he would be needed again. Suddenly, a shadow moved through the dim light of the cave entrance, and the air shifted. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes scanning the ancient walls, as if she could still hear the ghosts of battles fought long ago. She was no ordinary visitor. Centuries had passed since she last came here, her hair streaked with silver but her gaze still sharp and full of fire. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached out and touched the cryo chamber, the very place where she had hidden the last hope of humanity during the darkest days of the Dominion's reign. The silence shattered when the chamber hissed open, releasing a cloud of vapor that fogged the air, revealing Marcus's still form within. For a moment, nothing happened. But then his eyes flickered beneath the frost, slowly adjusting to the strange light and alien shapes surrounding him. Lyra grabbed his arm firmly, shaking him with a sense of urgency that filled the cave with a new energy. "Wake up, Marcus," she whispered, her voice steady but urgent. "They found us." The words hit Marcus like a shockwave, stirring a haze of memories and confusion inside his mind. His breath came ragged as he struggled to sit up, his muscles stiff and weak from centuries of rest. The cave walls seemed to close in around him, but his instincts, sharpened by a lifetime of war, fought to push back the fear threatening to overwhelm him. "Who found us?" Marcus asked, voice rough but steady despite his weakness. Lyra's eyes darkened. "The Dominion. They never stopped hunting us. After all this time, they tracked us here." The name struck him like a cold blade. The Dominion was a ruthless empire that had nearly destroyed humanity, wiping out entire worlds without mercy. Marcus had been one of their most wanted enemies, a warrior who dared to resist their cruelty. Now, after all these years, that enemy was back at their doorstep, ready to finish what it started. As Marcus forced himself to stand, every movement reminded him of the long years lost. Lyra handed him a small device, worn and cracked, but still glowing faintly with power. "This is the key to everything," she said. "It holds the coordinates to the last known safe zones of the human resistance. We must move fast before they surround this place." The cave seemed suddenly too small, too dark for what was coming. Marcus's mind raced as pieces of his shattered past came together. The battles, the betrayals, the sacrifices made to keep humanity alive. He remembered the faces of those he had fought beside and those he had lost. Now, all that was left was a desperate hope. Lyra led the way deeper into the cave, where old maps and ancient technology hummed quietly in hidden chambers. She explained how she had kept him safe, preserving his body and mind until the time was right. "You are not just a soldier, Marcus," she said softly. "You are a symbol, the last warrior who can unite the scattered survivors." Outside, faint echoes of engines and distant shouts grew louder. The Dominion's forces were closing in, relentless and merciless. Marcus could feel the weight of centuries pressing down on him, but beneath it burned a fierce determination. He was a human warrior, and humans never gave up. As he strapped on his armor, surprisingly intact, and took the weapon that had once been an extension of his own body, he knew the fight was only beginning. The quiet cave was no longer a place of refuge, but the starting point of a battle that could change the fate of the galaxy. Together, Marcus and Lyra stepped out into the darkness beyond, ready to face a relentless enemy that thought they had won. But the human spirit was far from broken, and the legend of the hidden warrior was about to be reborn. Marcus and Lyra moved swiftly through the dark tunnels that stretched far beneath the rocky surface, the weight of the past pressing heavily on them both as the faint glow from Marcus's armor illuminated faded murals and symbols etched into the cave walls. Lyra's voice was calm but serious as she told Marcus about the grim history that had forced them into hiding so long ago. She spoke of the Dominion, the vast empire that had risen from the ashes of countless wars, a force known for its cruelty and its endless thirst for power. The Dominion had hunted humans like Marcus and others who resisted their rule, wiping out entire planets to crush any spark of rebellion. Marcus listened carefully, the memories of battle and loss returning like flashes of lightning in his mind. He remembered the resistance fighters, the secret missions, and the terrible betrayals that had torn them apart. Lyra explained how she had found him after the final defeat and decided to protect him, hiding him away in this cave where no Dominion drone could reach. Yet now, after 2.5 centuries, the Dominion's shadows had found them again. Outside the cave's entrance, faint sounds echoed, scouts, patrols, and the unmistakable hum of advanced machinery. The enemy was closing in faster than they expected, their reach far greater than before. Marcus felt a mixture of dread and determination rising in his chest. He was no longer just a soldier from the past. He was a symbol of hope, a beacon to the scattered human survivors still fighting in the dark corners of the galaxy. Lyra led him deeper into a hidden chamber where old holographic maps flickered to life, displaying star systems and planets marked with the locations of resistance cells. These were the last safe zones, but many were already under siege or lost. Marcus's eyes sharpened as he took in the information, realizing how dire the situation truly was. They couldn't stay hidden any longer. They had to act. As they prepared to leave, Lyra handed Marcus a small, ancient-looking device, a relic from their shared past that contained encrypted messages and coordinates vital to the Resistance's survival. She warned him that the Dominion's commanders would stop at nothing to capture him alive, hoping to crush the spirit of humanity by erasing its greatest warrior. The thought made Marcus's resolve harden. They moved quickly through secret tunnels that twisted like veins beneath the planet, emerging finally into the open under a sky streaked with stars. The landscape was alien, rugged, and unforgiving, but Marcus felt alive for the first time in centuries. The air was thick with tension, the sense that danger lurked in every shadow. Suddenly, a sharp noise cracked through the silence, a scan. Pulse from a Dominion drone, sweeping the area for signs of life. Marcus dove behind a jagged rock, heart pounding. Lyra signaled him to stay low as she activated a device that scrambled the drone's sensors, buying them precious minutes. With a quick silent exchange, they decided to split up. Lyra would lead a small group to warn nearby survivors, while Marcus would move to find allies and strike back where the Dominion least expected it. Alone now, Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle like armor on his shoulders. Every step forward was a step into danger, but also a chance to ignite a rebellion that could change the fate of countless worlds. He recalled the old training, the strategies they used to outsmart and outfight a superior enemy, and he knew that the fight was far from over. As he made his way through the rocky terrain, moving carefully, between outcroppings and craters, he thought of the people depending on him, the families hiding in fear, the fighters ready to rise again. The Dominion might have powerful weapons and vast fleets, but humans had something no machine could replicate: courage, hope, and an unbreakable will to survive. Hours later, Marcus reached a small hidden base where a group of survivors awaited his arrival. Their faces were tired but lit with a flicker of hope as he stepped into their midst. Without wasting time, he shared the information from Lyra and the plans to unite their scattered forces. The room buzzed with nervous energy. Old rivalries and distrust lingered among the survivors. But Marcus's presence, the legend reborn, brought a new sense of purpose. Outside, the distant roar of Dominion engines reminded them all that time was running out. In the darkness, shadows shifted and moved. Spies and traitors might be watching, waiting to strike. Marcus knew that every choice now could mean the difference between survival and extinction. As night fell, the survivors began preparing for what would become the first battle of a new war, a war to reclaim their future. And deep in the blackness of space, the Dominion's relentless hunt continued, driven by fear and hatred, unaware that the spark of human defiance had already been rekindled by a warrior who had been hidden but never forgotten. Marcus moved silently through the rocky hills under a dark sky, the stars above faint and distant like silent watchers of a secret war. The air was tense, every sound sharper, every shadow a possible threat, as he led a small group of human survivors away from the hiding base. The Dominion's hunt was growing fiercer, and their drones and patrols were spreading like a shadow that never ended. The survivors whispered stories of the human warrior, a name that once seemed like a myth but was now real and alive again. Marcus's skills were rusty, but his instincts returned quickly, guiding him through narrow paths and forgotten caves, always staying one step ahead of the enemy. The group had no fancy weapons or large ships, only old technology scavenged from ruins and a fierce will to survive. But Marcus knew that hope was their most powerful weapon. As they reached a derelict spaceport on the edge of a forgotten planet, the tension rose. They had to find allies, fighters scattered across the galaxy who still resisted the Dominion's cruel rule. Marcus checked the device Lyra had given him. It held encrypted signals from other resistance cells. Decoding these messages was slow, but vital. Suddenly, a sharp alarm pierced the night. A Dominion patrol ship had detected their presence and was closing in fast. Marcus ordered the survivors to scatter, using the rocky terrain to disappear like ghosts. He ran toward a hidden tunnel, his heart pounding as the engines roared above. The Dominion forces were relentless, their machines designed to track every movement and destroy any sign of rebellion. Marcus felt the pressure of centuries pressing on him, knowing that failure meant the end for many innocent lives. As he moved deeper into the tunnel, he encountered an unexpected obstacle: Dominion soldiers laying traps and blocking escape routes. A fierce fight broke out, old and new tactics clashing in a deadly dance. Marcus's combat skills shone as he took down enemies with precision, but the numbers were overwhelming. Just when it seemed the hunters would capture him, a hidden rebel group emerged from the shadows, fighting alongside him. These fighters had been waiting for the warrior's return, ready to risk everything for freedom. Together, they pushed back the Dominion patrols, forcing them to retreat. The battle was fierce, and Marcus could feel the cost of war in every breath and movement. As the dust settled, the survivors regrouped, their bond strengthened by the fight. Marcus knew this was only the beginning. The Dominion would send more forces, more advanced machines, hunting harder than before. But the humans were learning, adapting, and growing stronger. With each victory, no matter how small, the legend of the human warrior grew, inspiring others to rise and resist. Marcus sent messages to distant resistance cells, calling for unity and coordinated attacks. Plans were made to sabotage Dominion, supply lines and free captured prisoners, striking where the enemy least expected. The galaxy was vast, and the Dominion's empire, though powerful, was stretched thin. Marcus and his allies saw the cracks in their armor and moved quickly to exploit them. Yet the danger was never far away. Dominion spies and traitors lurked in every shadow, ready to betray the cause for promises of power or survival. Marcus trusted few, always watching for signs of deception. The hunt had become a deadly game of cat and mouse, with lives hanging in the balance. Despite the hardships, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. Every step forward was a victory against the darkness that had tried to bury humanity. He remembered the faces of those lost and the promises made to protect the future. The path ahead was uncertain and dangerous, but with every battle won and every new ally gained, the human spirit grew stronger. As the group prepared to move, again under the cover of night, Marcus glanced at the stars, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders, but also the fire of hope burning bright. The hunt was only beginning, but this time, the hunted were ready to fight back. After weeks of moving from one hidden base to another, Marcus and Lyra finally stood on the bridge of an old starship, its metal walls scarred but still strong, ready to carry a spark of hope through a galaxy long darkened by the Dominion's rule. The ship was crowded with humans and alien allies, each one a survivor who had risked everything to join the fight. The air buzzed with a mix of fear and determination, every person knowing that this might be the turning point in a war that had lasted for centuries. Marcus looked around at the faces, some young, full of fiery hope, others older and tired, shaped by years of loss but still unbroken. Lyra stood beside him, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic star map projected above. The control panel, Together, they were planning something that had seemed impossible for a long time: to unite the scattered resistance groups into one force strong enough to challenge the Dominion directly. The ancient device Marcus carried showed the locations of several key systems where resistance was still alive, but time was running out. The Dominion was growing more ruthless, sending fleets to crush any sign of rebellion. Yet the more they tried to silence humanity's spark, the more it flared into life across the stars. Marcus began sending messages, carefully coded and broadcast through secure channels, calling for all resistance leaders to meet at a hidden system known only to a few. The response was slow but hopeful. One by one, ships began to appear, flying through dangerous space routes, risking Dominion patrols just to join the cause. Some were humans, but others were aliens who had suffered under Dominion control and now saw Marcus as a symbol of freedom for all oppressed beings. The tension in the ship grew with every incoming message, every new arrival adding strength to their fragile alliance. But with hope came danger. Dominion spies lurked among them, pretending to be friends while secretly feeding information back to their commanders. Marcus and Lyra knew trust was a rare treasure, and they watched every shadow carefully. The night before the gathering, the ship was shaken by an explosion. Someone had tried to sabotage their fuel supplies. Panic spread, but Marcus stayed calm, rallying the crew to fix the damage before the Dominion could detect their presence. The sabotage was a harsh reminder that their enemies were close and ruthless. When the day of the meeting arrived, the hidden system was alive with ships from different parts of the galaxy, all united by a single purpose. The leaders of the resistance came together, sharing stories of survival and plans for a new future. Marcus spoke to them, his voice steady but filled with passion. He told them that the time for hiding was over. The Dominion had underestimated the power of hope, the strength of a united people. He unveiled the ancient weapon they had found in the cave, a device capable of disrupting Dominion communication and defense systems across multiple planets. It was a tool of old technology, designed by humans before the Purge, now ready to turn the tide. The room filled with cautious excitement as plans formed to use the weapon in coordinated strikes that could cripple the Dominion's control. But even as hope rose, the threat grew darker. A chilling message arrived, warning Marcus that the Dominion's deadliest commander had been sent to capture him alive. This commander was a shadowy figure, feared across the galaxy for his brutal tactics and unmatched skill. Marcus knew this was no ordinary enemy. The hunter was coming for him, and the fate of the rebellion might depend on whether he could survive the deadly game ahead. As preparations for the first strike moved forward, Marcus trained with his closest fighters, honing their skills and sharing every trick he remembered from his long years as a warrior. Lyra coordinated with alien allies, blending their technology and tactics into a powerful force. The alliance was fragile but growing stronger with every challenge they faced together. The night before the attack, Marcus stood alone on the ship's observation deck, staring out at the stars and thinking of the past. The friends lost, the battles fought, and the promise of a future worth fighting for. He knew the path ahead was full of danger and sacrifice, but also that the human spirit was unbreakable. When the time came, the fleet launched into the dark void, moving like a storm across the galaxy. Their strikes hit hard and fast, targeting Dominion supply lines and communication hubs. The ancient weapon hummed with power, sending shockwaves through enemy defenses. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion faltered, but the shadow of the deadly commander loomed ever closer, tracking Marcus's every move with cold precision. The hunt was far from over, and the battle for the stars had only just begun. The stars stretched endlessly before Marcus as the fleet advanced into the heart of Dominion space, a place where few dared to go, and fewer still had returned. The ancient weapon had shaken the enemy, sending their forces into chaos, but Marcus knew this was only the beginning of a long and dangerous road to freedom. Every moment was thick with tension, the silence between the ship's crew filled with anticipation and fear. The Dominion's deadliest commander was closing in, a shadow stalking the warrior who had reignited hope across the galaxy. Marcus could feel it. The weight of countless lives depending on him, the future of humanity balanced on the edge of a blade. Inside the command room, Lyra worked alongside the other leaders, coordinating attacks and defenses as Dominion fleets scrambled to respond. The alliance was fragile but fierce, made up of survivors, fighters, and dreamers who refused to be crushed. As the fleet entered the Dominion's capital system, Marcus's ship was hit by a sudden, powerful explosion, a missile launched from an unseen enemy vessel. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and the ship shook violently. But Marcus refused to panic. He took control, issuing orders with calm authority, guiding the crew through emergency procedures as they repaired damage and prepared to fight back. The deadliest commander had arrived. His ship, black and menacing, loomed over them like a vulture, and Marcus could almost hear the cold, mocking voice that had haunted his dreams for centuries. The battle was brutal. Fighters swarmed like angry wasps, energy blasts streaking through the void, explosions lighting the darkness in fiery bursts. Marcus led the charge, flying his ship with skill born of centuries of war, dodging attacks and striking where the enemy was weakest. The ancient weapon pulsed with power, disrupting Dominion shields and communications, giving the rebels a critical advantage. Yet the enemy commander was cunning and ruthless, anticipating their moves and countering with deadly precision. At one point, Marcus's ship was caught in a trap, surrounded by enemy fighters closing in for the kill. With quick thinking, he activated a hidden thruster burst, breaking free and turning the tide in a daring counterattack that stunned the Dominion forces. The fight was exhausting, pushing every fighter to their limits, but the human spirit refused to break. On the ground, resistance cells rose up as news of the battle spread, striking Dominion outposts and freeing prisoners. The galaxy was waking, the quiet hope turning into a roar that could not be silenced. Back on the ship, Marcus faced a final, deadly duel with the Dominion commander. Their ships circled each other in a deadly dance, lasers flashing and shields flaring. It was a battle, not just of weapons, but of wills and history, a clash that would decide the future of humanity. With a fierce yell, Marcus launched a bold attack, using every skill and trick he had learned in his long life. The commander fought back with equal ferocity, but in the end, it was Marcus who struck the final blow, disabling the enemy ship and forcing the commander to retreat into the darkness. The victory was hard-won, but complete. The Dominion's hold over the galaxy began to crumble as more systems joined the rebellion, inspired by the courage of a warrior who had been hidden away, but never forgotten. Marcus and Lyra stood together, watching the dawn of a new era, knowing that the fight was far from over, but that the future was finally theirs to claim. The stars, once silent and cold, now shone with the light of humanity's resurgence, a light that no darkness could ever extinguish.